Hello, good evening, and welcome to the second All Things 80s Christmas live stream. And this week we're looking at Christmas of 1985. Before this stream, again, I've got more great guests joining us. And just to sort of forewarn you, one guest is running late, but he will be here. So in the meantime, I'm going to introduce you to someone who you may recognize from seeing some streams on other channels and, of course, on this channel. He has been extremely generous, and he has very kindly agreed to join us. So everybody, please welcome Tree Theodore.
Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a great week.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Tree. And just so everyone knows, Tree and I did a quick run-through the other day, so it was the first time he and I got to speak face-to-face. And it was a very smooth test, because this is Tree's first ever live stream, and everything has gone perfectly. The visuals are great, the sound is great, couldn't be better.
You've made it perfect. Thank you.
So and thank you for being so professional in your first ever stream.
Thank you, Dean.
Now, the next guest we're going to bring on, he was born in the UK, but he lives down under. He runs Analog Toys, and you know him as Tony.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry
Absolute
Christmas.
Pleasure to be back here on the All Things 80s channel.
Oh,
Dean,
yeah.
That intro was terrific.
Really?
It really had that Christmas vibe. I don't know if you played that on the last Christmas live stream, but
Yeah.
because of the time difference, I got up and I think I started listening along about 30 minutes in, so I didn't go back and watch the stuff. That was a terrific little intro, man. That was reminded me of, like, you know, British television in the 80s.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you said that. I was telling Tree before you joined us that all the music in these little video intros is something that I put together in the last few weeks. I've always enjoyed doing music, but I would never call myself a musician. But I thought to myself, let's challenge myself and try and do as many little Christmas sounding songs as possible. So I had an absolute blast doing that. And as for all the visuals, that's all done with free programs that I have. It's all iMovie and Keynote, I believe.
Amazing.
So I'm glad you liked that. Thank you so much.
No, pleasure, man. Oh, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Yeah, I just thought I tried to have as much of an 80s vibe to it as well. So
yeah.
I'm going to stress again for everyone watching. Normally, I try to get to all your comments, but because there's so much interactive material going on, I can't keep an eye on everything. But I do have YouTube running, so out the corner of my eye, I can see the special ones just like this. And this is quite remarkable, because normally this would have said just cause. But this time, Jody, thank you so much, Jody. You're so kind. He has now said, have a love-hate relationship with Tree. Great guy, but he beat me into sending Dean the Batmobile. Yes. True indeed. But as everyone probably now knows, and you can't even see this, I'm so annoyed, but Tony, believe it or not,
Nice.
Which came from Tree. Also, thank you again, sir. I'm a huge Batman fan, and it was always my intention to get more than one. So please, Jody, don't feel bad about that. It was just the timing of everything. But yes, I understand what you're saying there. We have 54 already, and as I said in the introduction, Michael's running late. He'll join us as soon as he can. So we're going to sort of shuffle things around a bit, because I know that everyone's here for the toys, really. So we'll do that once Michael comes. But before we go any further, to ask you, Tree, do you have any plans to do a YouTube channel of your own, or are you just happy being a viewer?
No, this is a one-off prototype. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. Primarily, I encourage young men to grow. And actually, one was one of your first commenters, Serpensa. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here. But I have no intention to go into this professionally.
Okay. And of course, we all know Tony and Analog Toys. And do you have anything you want to promote quickly before we get into the show, Tony?
Oh wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I had a long video chat with Michael French about a week ago, a recorded video chat where Michael's going to take all that recording for a very, very big Indiana Jones video. And then yesterday I filmed some additional parts of that script for him. So all of my kind of contribution is in the bag. But I think Michael's ended up with several hours of content that he's got to build into a video. So that will obviously take some time. The 3POA podcast will be back on again on the 18th of December. And Michael, he'll be our first guest on that show. And I've got a number of other videos in the pipeline. One that I can't kind of talk about at the moment. And I'm looking at doing a Punisher video, actually, because I like the Punisher comic book character. So if I can make that happen, that's not a huge video. I might get that done this weekend.
Okay.
But just while you were talking about T-shirts just before, I've got a few different Christmas T-shirts that I like to put on for these streams. And I thought, I know Dean's this massive Batman fan. Why don't I have Batman and Santa Claus together on a T-shirt?
Oh, wonderful. That's fantastic. And Jody has gone ahead and done what he should have done the first time, just cause. Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
It's not a live stream unless you see Jody saying just cause. It's something we've all come to see in these live streams. So, as I said, we're going to shuffle the order of things compared to last week. And our first segment, which Tree may not have a great deal of knowledge about because we're looking at the BBC and what was broadcast back on Christmas Eve in 1985. But I'm sure you'll be able to sort of relate to some of the shows because there are one or two American shows in there, but also by all means, give us your memories of the American broadcasts at Christmas time.
Oh, absolutely.
So we'll just run the quick intro into looking at BBC One in 1985. And that was the actual ident that was used at Christmas time in 1985 on the BBC. So I thought it'd be quite nice to include that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen and we'll take a look at the listings for BBC One on Christmas Eve. And as we have to sort of pad things out a little bit till Michael gets here, we may even look at Christmas Day as well, even though I did cover that last year, but that was obviously a year ago, so it may still have some relevance to sort of talk about today. But BBC One Christmas Eve 1985. And once again, we're starting with CFAX. Now, Tree, do you know what CFAX is?
Yes, you explained it on an earlier broadcast.
Sure, yeah. So if you didn't have a TV equipped with CFAX, this was like an example of what you could have. And it kind of is like the first ever internet in a way. So that ran for 50 minutes. Breakfast time was the typical sort of morning show, you know, similar to Good Morning America type thing. And I
like that. It's got the special guests there are Roland Rat Superstar, and the choir of Westminster Abbey.
Oh yeah,
what a combination!
It really is. And the funny thing is, I always associated Roland Rat with ITV, and it's quite unusual to have a celebrity jump channels, but to have a puppet jump channels is just quite remarkable, in my opinion. Tony, were you ever a fan of Roland Rat?
I was, yeah. And very much the same, he was always an ITV star to me.
Yeah.
I didn't mind Roland Rat.
Yeah, it's funny as well because having done quite a lot of looking back at listings for the TV over the past couple of years, I'm amazed at how many acts jumped channels back and forth. I always thought if you were with ITV, that was it. You could only do ITV, but apparently not. Now, the Littlest Hobo, that was a dog, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
I think.
I remember the music.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
I'm sure that was an American show. In fact, I'm going to try and quickly check this, because if it's what I think it is,
Boy,
I
I've
always
never heard of it.
I always used to cry at the end when I was a young lad. The Littlest Hobo television series. If I just look
it was
at
a dog.
It was.
Oh, the series is from 1963.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Yeah.
I've never heard of it.
Canadian. It's a Canadian television series
Okay.
based upon a 1958 American film of the same name. There you go.
There you go. So, Tree, you don't recall that show at all?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Next is The Hunter, which I think was a cartoon. The Hunter was School Days, Full Days.
Okay.
And it says here, Horace plays hooky and helps the hunter blow the lid off the fox's latest felony. Maybe someone in the chat can confirm, but I think that also was a cartoon. Play Chess was a pretty interesting show. Just a 10-minute show that was on every single day, teaching kids how to play chess. Did you ever play chess, you guys?
I've played a little bit of chess in my time. I'm not that good at it, but me and my brother had a game of chess that went on for about 5 years. You know, I got given a nice chessboard one year, and I was working overseas, so it lived at his house. And it was one of those things. Every time I'd go back, it would still be set up. Yeah, I actually don't remember if we ever finished that game.
We've got a super chat from Boba Hicks and CFAX, Teletext, and Airtel for the win. Littlest Hobo is an awesome show. You've just jogged the memory. Yes, BBC had CFAX, ITV had Teletext. Yep. It's amazing how these things just come right back. So, play chess. I actually learned to play chess watching this show, and I probably haven't played chess since 1985, as it happens. Charlie Brown. This was the Charlie Brown Christmas.
Now that I remember.
Oh, yeah. The funny thing is, I never liked Charlie Brown as a kid. I found the animation to be really annoying, actually. I think because I was used to, cartoons such as, Transformers and Mask. Watching Charlie Brown was like a real step down for me as a kid.
Yeah, it was borderline one-dimensional.
Yeah. Now, Magic Roundabout. Have you heard of this, Tree?
No, I'm sorry.
This was a kid's show. Now, I'm trying to remember if it was animated or done with puppets. I don't exactly recall. Tony, do you remember?
I want to say, I think it was like stop motion, so it wasn't puppets or animation.
I think it was stop motion, but this show, apparently the creator wrote the show whilst high on acid or something, and as a result, watching it as an adult, it makes no sense whatsoever. But apparently, if you're high on drugs, it's one of the best shows ever. It's just a bizarre kids show. Play School was a kids show for very young children, but I do remember Fluella Benjamin. She was the black lady that had the beads in her hair. And I remember as well. I for some reason, I used to love watching her, but as I said, this was a show for sort of 2, 3, 4-year-old kids.
Yeah, real like toddler age kids.
Yeah. But Tom and Jerry, everyone knows and loves. That was 15 minutes.
Love that cartoon show.
Yeah. Now, Tree, are you finding it interesting to see the times of shows coming on? Because in America, we're always on the hour and on the half hour.
Yeah, it seems a little sporadic.
Yeah, it's just anything goes on the BBC. We've got like a 15-minute show. So Charles in Charge, featuring Scott Baio. I don't know this at all.
Now,
It's
Scott,
a spin-off from Happy Days, isn't it?
yeah.
Ah.
Well, it's kind of later down the road. It's a separate show, but Scott Baio was on Happy Days for sure.
Right.
But isn't he playing the same character, or am I thinking of a different show?
No, it's a different character altogether.
Okay.
So what was he on Happy Days? Like Chachi or something?
Yeah, Johnny and Chachi was a spinoff from Happy Days.
That's what I'm thinking of. Yep.
Right. And I have to go back again because he's done it again. Jody, thank you so much. 1985, the year before they killed off Prime. So obviously referencing the Transformers movie there. So 85, as we'll get to in the toy segment, was a big Transformers Christmas for me, certainly. So that was Charles in Charge. Now, see here, a Christmas special. I think this was possibly similar to Jack and Ori in that they would read children's stories, but I don't quite remember for sure. Do you remember that, Tony?
I don't know.
No. I'm sure you remember Junior Kickstart.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I should point out I was corrected from last week because I'd said that this was a dirt bike show, and Kickback 1985, who knows all about this stuff, informed me these are what you call trial bikes. And the objective of this was for kids on motorcycles, trial bikes, to navigate an obstacle course without putting their foot on the ground in the quickest time possible. And if your foot touched the ground at any point, you would get a 5-second penalty. My overriding memory of Junior Kickstart was that of absolute jealousy at seeing kids my age riding motorcycles.
The closer you came was your Team Burner.
Yes. But in saying that, though, Kickstart inspired me to build my own obstacles in the garden for my BMX. And I would make various ramps and things and have to do it without putting my foot down. So it wasn't all bad, but just I couldn't quite comprehend how another kid my age had this amazing motorcycle and I didn't. But yeah, it was a great show. A bit of news at 10-1. This is with Richard Whitmore and the weather by Bill Giles. I remember Bill Giles, but I don't remember Richard Whitmore.
I'm the other way around. I remember Richard Whitmore, but I don't remember Bill Giles.
Right. 1 p.m. was A Song for Christmas, and I just know already I would have hated this as a kid, especially as it was hosted, or the guest star was Cliff Richard.
Yep.
And it was presented by Paul Coya and Josephine Buchan. Now, Paul Coya, I remember as being Scottish with the sort of dark quiffed hair. And but there were 6 finalists perform their own carols in front of a judging panel of celebrities chaired by Peter Skellern. I don't know him at all. But as for me, I would have been 11 years old. I would not have been sitting down for A Song for Christmas.
No, you just made that sound like the worst possible crossover between Christmas and X Factor.
Yeah, it really is. Now, 145 was Mr. Ben. Do you remember that, Tony?
The name is so familiar, but I just can't.
I think Mr. Ben would go into a clothing store. In fact, it was a fancy dress costume store. And he would go into the changing room and try on a different fancy dress. And magically, he would be sent into that world that was represented by that fancy dress. If he put on, say, a set of armor from a knight, he would be back in the medieval times. Or if he put on, I don't know, a magician's costume, he became a magician for 50 minutes. Yeah, it was a pretty cool show, actually. Again, aimed at much younger kids, probably 5-6-year-olds would have enjoyed that. I have to jump in because Anthony Whitehead, thank you so much, Anthony. He says, "Hey guys, been waiting on this all week. It's cool that you have the coolest Tony in the room by far. Hello, Tree, Dean. If you want to ride motorcycles, let me know." Yes. Now, Anthony, I got your box yesterday and I sent you an email to thank you for that. But if you've not read that email yet, thank you so much. And once again, you've just blown my mind with your generosity. It really is quite remarkable, the stuff that you can find that just screams 80s. But again, Anthony, thank you so much.
Awesome.
Now this one, The Slipper and the Rose, which turns out is the story of Cinderella, the British film musical. And it says here starring, but then it just says, in the tiny kingdom of Euphronia live, a sad young girl and an unhappy prince. Again, 11-year-old me would have been running out the room if that came on.
Richard Chamberlain, Peter Graves.
Yeah. And again, I'm seeing on the bottom here, it did have CFAX subtitles. So if I remember rightly, it may have been page 888. If you typed in 888 on your CFAX remote control, it would give you the subtitles. Yeah, that's not really something I would have liked. And this, again, Keith and Orville's Christmas Circus. Now, Tree, have you heard of Keith Harris and Orville?
No, I have not.
Oh, you're very lucky.
Yep.
Orville was this annoying puppet, like what was Orville? Was he an owl?
No. What?
His head would turn all the way round.
Yeah, he was a little green puppet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was some kind of a bird, but it was cringeworthy.
Oh, it was terrible.
It was then, and it's even worse now.
Yeah, and Keith Harris was your sort of typical family entertainer back then, and watching it now, it is so cringy to watch. And as a ventriloquist, he really wasn't that good, to be honest.
No, he wasn't.
You could always see his mouth moving and his Adam's apple going up and down. Yeah. He also had other puppets. Cuddles, I think, was the monkey, and Dippy, I don't quite remember.
Everyone in the chat saying that Orville was a duck. That makes sense.
Of course he is, yeah. Yep, absolutely. As with the Christmas Eve broadcast that we looked at last week, it also says that this Keith and Orville's Christmas Circus featured guest star Dana, but I don't know who Dana is. And I tried Googling it. I cannot find any information on who this Dana is.
Yeah, no idea.
No. Okay. Again, another show that wasn't for me as an 11-year-old, Carols from Kings. And this is Christmas carols from the chapel of King's College. Now, 40-odd years later, yeah, I don't mind listening to carols because it really puts you in the Christmas mood. But as a kid, carols were not for me. No. And this one...
Speaking of, did you guys have carolers come around from home to home?
Not
really.
Yeah. Well, you know what? In my town, it was more the case that the church would put on a show in the town square type of thing, rather than going house to house. But as someone who was frequently dragged along to church, I am quite familiar with all these carols, and some are definitely better than others. But for me, what I enjoyed about Christmas time and being forced to go to church was something called the Christingle Candle, which I don't know if this made it to America, but we used to take an orange and put a candle in the top, and then using cocktail sticks would put sort of small jelly candies around. And it's all supposed to represent something. I don't quite remember what it was, but for me, I would be sitting in the church with this candle stuck in an orange, and I would take the cocktail stick with the jelly candy and start toasting it on the candle flame.
Oh, that's too good.
Maybe after this, I'll go on Twitter and I'll need to post a picture of I think it was called a Christingle. Again, I'm not able to sort of keep an eye on the chat, but I'm sure someone should remember that, hopefully. A bit more news at 6. Then Jim will fix it for Christmas. And last week's wishes were rather strange, and this week is no different. So someone wrote in wishing for a pumpkin to be a coach, for Bo Peep to find her sheep, and a pantomime horse to win the 3:15 at Cheltenham. All very strange, but I'm assuming you've heard of Jimmy Savile. Have you, Tree?
I'm sorry, no.
Oh, well, probably just as well, because
Yeah.
He was like probably the #1 children's entertainer for decades until after he died, it emerged that he was an absolute scumbag and a predator. And some of the stuff he did was just absolutely disgusting, especially when it involved disabled children. So less said about him, the better. But it happened, and he was on Christmas Eve, so we can't deny that. But yeah, a very strange individual. Now, Telly Addict's Christmas special was a quiz show based around questions relating to television shows. And it seems that there was one family who were called the Pains, were the champions of '85, and they got to take on a team of celebrities. And that team included Nina Mishkoff, who I remember, Barry Took, who I also remember, Larry Grayson, who doesn't remember Larry Grayson, and that seems to be it. So there was 3 celebrities. Do you remember Telly Addicts, Tony?
No, I don't.
I vaguely remember it. Again, I was 11 years old. I was basically, if it wasn't raining, I was outside playing, so I didn't watch a great deal of TV as a kid. But I do remember the show, though. And at 7:30, we had Eastenders, which I think is probably one of the most depressing shows ever made. Both in terms of...
But my parents, well, certainly my mum, was glued to this. There's a divorce, a proposal, and a good old sing-song in the Queen Vic on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
That was had they killed Dirty Den by then? I don't know.
But my memory of EastEnders was that, again, my mum watched it, but she watched it on the Sunday omnibus. So because it was broadcast 2 days a week, both episodes would be broadcast back to back on a Sunday afternoon. And so my dad would be away playing golf, and she would have this on the TV. So for that hour, I was bored out of my mind. I was probably playing with Lego or something. But my memory of EastEnders was everything just being so dull and grey, and a lot of fighting in this soap opera. Not necessarily good Christmas Eve viewing, but they did have a good sing-along in the pub afterwards, so maybe it was all right. Kenny Everett's Christmas Carol. So, Tree, have you heard of Kenny Everett?
No, I'm sorry. I think they'd sweep with me on that television program earlier.
Yeah. Tony, did you ever watch Kenny Everett?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Yeah. I've tried to watch it in the last few months, and it's pretty awful, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really didn't find it that funny at all. But he did have some interesting guests on this one, aside from Kenny himself. Now, Charles Dickens, surely not the Charles Dickens, but Michael Barrymore, we remember, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Peter Cook, Spike Milligan, Willie Rushton, John Wells, I don't remember, and Marjorie Pratt, which is a very unfortunate name, but I don't remember her. 8:30 was a question of sport, which, as the name suggests, was a quiz show about sport. And the team captains, in fact, normally the show was contested by other sportsmen. And Bill Beaumont was I think he was the England rugby captain. Emlyn Hughes was a star of Liverpool's football team. They were the two captains, but this one seems to have been the guests were actually from TV. So John Nettles from I remember Bergerac.
Oh, I remember Bergerac. That was he
was a detective on one of the islands.
Yeah, a detective inspector, like a murder mystery type of thing.
From Big Deal, Ray Brooks. I don't know him. Alias was Robbie Box. I don't know that. Obviously, comedians Eddie Large and Stan Boardman, I remember. Stan Boardman, of course, infamous for being on the Des O'Connor show live and telling his joke about the German aircraft. You remember that one, Tony?
I don't know.
Well, can you think of a German a German military aircraft with a name that, if you say it wrongly, it's quite a rude word?
Yeah,
the Fokkers.
Oh,
so he was doing this joke, and the actual story itself was not that interesting. But every time he said Fokker with his accent, I think it got him banned from live TV. It was classic.
Yeah. I do remember my dad used to love A Question of Sport. That was he didn't watch a lot of TV.
No.
He would watch Match of the Day on the weekend. It's not the only show he would watch.
Yep. Likewise, my dad always watched Question of Sport. Now, at 9 p.m., we had Terry and June. And I remember watching Terry and June. That was, to me, that was like good family entertainment. To see it on at 9 p.m. is quite interesting. I would have thought that would have been like a 6 o'clock type show. Just a good old situation comedy. More news at 9:30. And at 9:45, we had Cagney and Lacey.
My mum's favourite show. You must remember this, Tree.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
My grandma used to like this one. And just seeing how it says here, it's the two first ladies of New York Police Department. I need to go back and watch this to see if I recognize any of the locations. To see how much it's all changed. Now at 10:30, Val Dunican's Christmas party. Val Dunican was I guess he was a crooner, but I always remember this show because he would always wear the Christmas sweater and be singing Christmas carols. And I see here one of his guests was Pat Boone.
Oh, sure, Pat Boone. My mother met him on a golf course once.
Oh, nice. And,
interesting.
Now, the name James Galway rings a bell. I think he played the flute. I don't know how I remember that, but I think he did.
Absolutely, he did.
Yes. And Janet Brown, who I don't know. But this was, whenever this show came on, because obviously on Christmas Eve, I couldn't sleep. I was so excited. I would be allowed to stay up as late as possible so as I would eventually be tired and go to bed. But whenever you saw Val Dunican in his Christmas sweater, you knew that Santa was on his way.
Yeah.
And we have another.
George Aitken's got a good comment here. He's like, Val Dunican is kind of like the British version of Bing Crosby.
Yeah. 11:20 was the Good Life Christmas special. And that, again, to me, was just good family entertainment. And to see it broadcast so late is quite unusual. But Felicity Candle, Penelope Keith, Richard Bryars, all big names in British TV.
Mm-hmm.
And then to round things off, we had the First Communion of Christmas at 10 to midnight. And that ran for an hour. And we finished up with the weather. So that was Christmas Eve on the BBC. So, Tree, do you have any sort of fond memories of Christmas television from your childhood?
Well, I would have to say they were the stop animation films from Baskin and Trying to think.
Rankin Bass?
Rankin and Bass. Yeah, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman.
Right.
And they used to have a lot of singing specials too. So
yeah. I always remembered now in America, I'm assuming there would be special sort of Christmas TV guides produced, because in the UK we had to buy actually two guides. We had to buy one guide for ITV and one guide for the BBC. So the BBC had the radio times and ITV had the TV times, and those would come out sort of maybe the first week of December, telling you what was on for the whole Christmas period. And you would go there and take your pen and circle all the shows you really wanted to catch. And for us in the UK, that was when primarily ITV would broadcast a pretty big movie. So as it happens, that's how I saw Empire Strikes Back, was at Christmas time on ITV.
Wow.
Of course, as a result, I saw the Star Wars movies in the wrong sequence, because I saw Star Wars by way of a VHS tape. I then saw Return of the Jedi in the theater, which was part of a friend's birthday party. And then I saw Empire Strikes Back. But also, they were always had the big Bond movies at Christmas time as well. It was always a big feature of the ITV's Christmas showings. And Scuba is saying, yes, the TV guide in the US. Actually, I did take a look at eBay to see how much these old Christmas TV times were going for. They're going for a lot of money these days. These are in-demand items.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I quite fancied getting hold of one, but not for the prices they were asking. So we've gone for how long? 37 minutes. Now, before I go on, any other sort of TV memories you wish to share from Christmas of years gone by?
Well, yeah, like you say, Dean, as a kid growing up in the 80s, one of the highlights for us, because we only had 3 or 4 channels.
Yeah.
I think where I lived, we had BBC One, BBC Two, ITV, and Channel 4.
Yep.
And there wasn't a lot of, Hollywood movies shown on TV, certainly not at a time when a child was awake. I think they might have done movies kind of later at night on the weekends, because I do remember my dad would, videotape the odd movie for me to watch later. So, yeah, Christmas Day viewing was a real highlight, because you knew you were going to get to see something along the lines of Star Wars or a Roger Moore Bond film, possibly both. So, yeah, that was a real highlight.
I think what I'll do is, we won't go in any great detail, but if we call up the Christmas Day viewing, we can just quickly see what was the big movie that BBC gave us in 1985.
That's really awesome. They have that archived so well.
Yeah, it's a fantastic resource. I use it all the time, just out of curiosity, because I have certain memories that I need to go back and confirm. And a lot of the time I'm spot on. Other times I'm a little bit off. But for the most part, I've been able to confirm what I believe to be the case. So this is Christmas Day. So Muppet Babies, Raiders of the Lost Muppet. Don't remember that. Knock, knock, in this day, the Gnome-mobile. Now, as we get to the mid-afternoon, we're going to see some very familiar things, which will be, of course, Top of the Pops and the Queen's Speech, I imagine. So the Noel Edmonds live Christmas breakfast show was another sort of classic. Top of the Pops. Doesn't say who was on this one, but the Queen's Speech, so that ran for 10 minutes. The Children's Royal Variety Performance, that to me, that was hit or miss. Sometimes you got good pop bands on there, but other times it's a lot of garbage. And I'm just sort of glancing at this. I see the Crankies were on there, Bonnie Langford, Keith Chegwin. It's like a who's who of 80s kids TV. And All Creatures Great and Small. And I remember seeing this and thinking, why is Doctor Who on this show? Because Peter Davidson played the part of Tristan. News. Heidi High was situation comedy. It was okay, I guess. Only Fools and Horses is some fantastic British comedy.
Yeah.
Two Ronnies again, fantastic comedy. Wogan. Actually, there's no movie. Oh, hang on. Absence of Malice, starring Paul Newman.
It must have been ITV that did it, because I remember the movie would be on kind of. My memory is that you would have your big Christmas dinner, which when I grew up in England, dinner you ate at lunchtime.
Yeah.
You didn't have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You had breakfast, dinner, and tea. So your big meal, the biggest meal, was in the middle of the day. And so you'd have your Christmas dinner around 12 o'clock. And then after that, everyone would... I remember all my grandparents would come around, and my grandparents would sit back in the chair, and they'd light up cigarettes, and they'd have a sherry. And then I'd be sitting on the floor, cross-legged, watching Roger Moore's James Bond or something.
Yeah. For me, it was always a case of we had to wait till the Queen's speech was finished. So I think we had Christmas dinner typically like 3:30 or something. Yeah. And as you say, around about 6 p.m. would be the big movie event on ITV. And yeah, they had some real classics. And bearing in mind, this was before VHS, well, certainly the early 80s was before VHS tapes were readily available. So this was, in some cases, the first chance to see these movies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because certainly I still remember seeing VHS cassettes being sold for, 70, 80 pounds when they first came out.
Yes.
And no one could afford that. That was just obscene amount of money.
No, but back in those days, you could rent VHS cassettes.
Yeah.
You couldn't buy them because of the price.
Yeah.
But also because of the price, your local video rental store, which was normally a tiny little shop near the off license, because of the cost of them, they might only get in one copy.
Yeah.
And I can remember because my family had these aspirations to move to Australia, when Crocodile Dundee came out, they had to go to the video shop like weeks or maybe even months in advance and put their name down in a queue for when they could rent and they're like, it comes out on this day, and already going in a month out, they're like, it's fully booked for the first week. You're going to have to wait until this date, and then you can rent the tape for one night. So
that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I remember the waiting list, and I remember in my town, prior to the VHS revolution, one of the shops was just a regular sort of candy store, which was known because my grandfather used to chew a gum called Stimorol gum, and he would buy it from that shop, and we knew it as the chewing gum shop. But then this guy realized if he began renting VHS tapes, he could make a killing. So he basically dumped the candy aspect and just took on VHS tapes. The other one was, I think it was an electrician's base, but he would sell plugs and fuses and things. Whilst I think his wife ran that part of the store, but he would be out fixing people's wiring and whatnot. Well, they then took on some VHS tapes, and they became a full-on video store. So we had two video stores, but as Tony said, each store had one copy of each brand new movie. So it was never ideal. So I guess we'll move on. Michael's not here yet, so we can look at the music. So Tree, just to sort of give you some background here, in the UK, all pop bands wanted to be number one at Christmas. That was the aim of every band, and it was blown up like, oh, who's going to be Christmas number one? And this would go on for weeks, and there would be people placing big bets at the bookmakers trying to guess who was going to be Christmas number one. So we'll take a look at the top 10.
Okay.
Thankfully, it's slightly better than last week, because last week 1986 was an absolute terrible Christmas top 10, but this one hopefully will be slightly better.
Well, hopefully I'll do a little better with the music.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. Now, well, coming in at number 10 was See the Day from D.C. Lee.
Oh, okay.
I have no real memory of, I'm afraid to say, but when I did this in my Christmas countdown last year, someone told me I think she was a singer from the band Style Council who was fronted by Paul Weller, and he may even have been married to this lady. Don't quote me on that, but
yeah, so, she was actually a backing singer for Wham.
Ah, was she?
Yeah, I think she spelled her name differently at that time.
No, but Wham, I think that was Pepsi and Shirley.
Really? I think this is maybe an earlier, as I remember.
Ah, you know, I need to quickly check this because
she spelled her name 3 different ways, I remember.
Oh, really?
When she was a backing singer, she had one name, and then as she progressed, she changed her name.
Right. You know what? Absolutely right, Tree. Associated acts are Wham, the Style Council, Animal Nightlife, Guru, Sham, Slam, and Central Line. So who were Pepsi and Shirley?
Pepsi and Shirley were backup singers for Wham as well, but I think at different times, you know.
Right. I'm just going to jump out of this a second to say a big thank you to Monkey Boy Cloth Cat. Thank you so much, Monkey Boy. Eastenders, also known as Shouting in the Drizzle. That's about right.
Yep. Yeah. That should be its subtitle.
Yeah.
Eastenders, Shouting in the Drizzle.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. So number 9 was Dress You Up from Madonna. Okay, I know who Madonna is, obviously. I know a number of her songs. This is one song I do not remember at all.
I was going to say the exact same thing. I'm very familiar with Madonna because at this time in the 1980s, like I said, in 85, I was 8 years old. My brother was 14, and you went in his bedroom and every part of his wall, and I think even on the ceiling, was just covered in Madonna posters. It's all we listened to, Madonna. And I don't remember a song by Madonna called Dress You Up.
Yeah, see, this was for an older crowd because she was responsible for a parental advisory sticker that was introduced on CDs. And man, this is a guilty pleasure of mine. So I'm going to take some heat by admitting that.
No.
But I remember this one really well because it had a bass line and driving drums.
I'll need to look it up. So number 8 was Wham, I'm Your Man. I do remember this one quite vividly.
Yeah, the song's already playing in my head.
Yeah,
I just quickly want to say, Tree, like you're going through the the BBC kind of guide with me and Dean, and there's all the stuff you're not familiar with, and then we go to the music, and you're just coming out with this incredible trivia.
Fantastic!
This is stealing the show here, my man.
Have you guys ever listened to a song and you go, I never paid attention to the lyrics, and then later you start to think, when it's been played everywhere, you start to realize this song, I think, was about a failed devotion. Which you'll never see news of a failed devotion in the toy community.
Right. Yeah. Number 7, we had Separate Lives by Phil Collins and Marlon Martin. Obviously, I know Phil Collins, but Marlon Martin, I don't instantly recognize.
No.
Yeah, this one I remember had those moving lyrics. Well, you have no right to ask me how I feel. You have no right to speak to me so kind. It reminds me of Michael's interview of Bruce Broughton on his Iconicon. It's real melodic.
Yeah.
And, I actually really love Phil because at the time I was living in Texas, and he was a collector. and he was accumulating a lot of artifacts and writing a book about the Alamo in San Antonio. And when he got done with it, he donated it all back, and the state of Texas made him an honorary Texan.
Huh.
Oh, interesting.
So moving on to number 6, which is very unfortunate. So this is Wham with a double A side, Last Christmas and Everything She Wants. Now, I say unfortunate because Wham made the mistake of releasing Last Christmas the previous year, which of course was the year that Band-Aid hit the number 1 spot. So nothing was going to beat Band-Aid, especially with the message behind why it was released. So I guess it just sort of lingered about on the charts to 1985, but couldn't make an impact. So Wham missed out again. 2 years running, they failed to get the top spot for Christmas, and it is a wonderful Christmas song.
Yeah, I think the royalties were donated to the Ethiopian famine.
Yeah, it's one of these songs that when it kicks in, it just takes me right back to the mid 80s.
Yeah,
so I do like it a lot. Now, number 5, Walking in the Air by Aled Jones from the animation The Snowman. I've
been sitting here reading that thinking, I'm not familiar with that. And now I am.
Yeah. Now, interestingly, when The Snowman was broadcast, it may have been 85, I don't know, or maybe 84. But either way, I was a complete sobbing wreck by the end of it.
Yeah.
And I actually made the mistake of watching it again, I think it was 2 years ago. And I wasn't in a particularly good spot emotionally as it was. And I put that on, watched the whole thing, and was crying like a big baby. So whenever I hear this song come on, my first instinct is just kind of sadness in a way.
Well, I have another confession.
Yes.
I played a snowman in the 4th grade.
Ah.
I had girls dancing around me with tutu.
Okay. Yeah. But the thing with Aled Jones was he was this lead choir boy, and he was having a great deal of success. However, once his voice broke, he couldn't sing like that any longer. And he was just another singer after that. So I think he got a career possibly presenting television shows instead. But yeah, he was a pretty talented young lad. Number 4, the West End Girls from the Pet Shop Boys. Fantastic bass line.
Yeah.
To that song.
Classic song of the 80s song.
Oh,
yeah. Synthesizer.
Yeah. It seemed that the 80s was the decade of synth pop duos having a great deal of success. There were a ton of them. And I think Pet Shop Boys are still going to this day. I don't know if they make new music or not, but there's certainly, I've seen tours advertised in recent years. So number 3, again, was Band-Aid, which was obviously left over from last year. But the fact that it got to number 3 again was pretty remarkable. So that was way more money raised for charity, which was good.
Yeah.
Sadly, they have remade this song a number of times. I can tolerate the one that featured, Kylie Minogue, Jason Donovan, Bros, etc. But the ones after that are just terrible. I don't even know who these artists are, but I don't like it.
Yeah, they did. I remember when I moved back to the UK in 2001, I don't remember what year it was, but somewhere during the early 2000s, they redid it. And, you had U2, Robbie Williams.
Yeah,
sure.
It wasn't good.
No. I mean, if we're being honest, the song itself is not a particularly great song, but it's the message behind it that really carries it. But when they did those more sort of like upbeat sort of electro dance type versions, those are really bad.
Yeah.
Are you hearing?
I think a big part of it as well, Dean, though, is like watching that music video, which is nothing special,
No.
From a production standpoint. But we had never seen anything like that, like all of these different pop stars in this one. It was just, that's really what it was. It was, oh my God, there's just so many cool people in this one video coming together, for this cause. And yeah.
I said this before, but what really sold it to me was it was on the 9 o'clock news on the Sunday where they were just wrapping up. And I could see some of my favorite pop stars being involved in this. I thought, well, what is this? And then obviously they told us about this charity and everything. I said, I got to get this single. So of course I got the single the following weekend. And of course it shot straight to number 1 in 1984, but still did well the following year. So number 2 was Whitney Houston, Saving All My Love for You. Good song.
Yeah, I think
this is when Whitney Houston was at in my memory, this is the height of her powers, but perhaps you could say, the sort of early to mid 1990s. But I remember my grandparents on my mother's side used to live about a 40 minute drive away, and my mum would kind of take us there every other weekend. We would go and stay with my grandparents, and my mum had bought a Whitney Houston cassette tape that she would play in the car. And all the way there, we would listen to Whitney Houston, and all the way back. Occasionally, she might take it out and pop in some Lionel Richie. But my mum adored Whitney Houston to the point where it's oversaturation now and makes me feel nauseous.
Yeah, I think that particular one was her first hit single.
Right, yeah.
It could have been, like this could have been the year when, my mum turned around and went, all I want to listen to is Whitney Houston. I know this was a very, very big song in the UK.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, number 1 was Shakin' Stevens with Merry Christmas, Everyone. Now, unlike Wham, Shaky postponed this release because this was meant to be released in 84. And he had the foresight to shelve it until the following year. And as a result, he did what Wham could not do. And in my opinion, as much as I love this Christmas song from Shaky, Wham is the better Christmas song.
Yeah, it is. It hasn't had the same sort of longevity, but
no.
Are you familiar with Shakin' Stevens?
I did see something on the internet. It was filmed in Sweden, starred a snowman.
Yeah, but but are you familiar with the actual singer? And
not the background, just the one hit.
Yeah, because he didn't really. He was very much a UK hit, but Shakin' Stevens was a almost like a bootleg version, a bootleg British Elvis.
Yeah.
He wore nothing but denim. He used to turn up his collar, and he did this unusual dance, a bit like Elvis, dancing with his knees. And it was something that all of us kids wanted to replicate. And I've actually got some old silent home video footage of me on Christmas morning, me and my brother trying to do the Shakin' Stevens dance. I thought I was amazing, and I just rediscovered this tape a few months ago. And I watched it back, and I was like, yeah, me and my brother can't dance. That's
too good.
Yeah, I just remember it was always like a black shirt with a collar popped, denim jacket, blue jeans, and white dancing shoes. Very iconic look. And actually, he had a number of really big hits in the UK. He was really popular. But as you said, very much a knockoff Elvis Presley.
Behind the Green Door was one of my favorites. That song used to get played a lot in our house when I was very young.
Yeah. just actually jumping back to the Wham! Last Christmas, that is another fantastic music video where you see the gang going up in the 4x4 up into the snowy chalet to decorate for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember rightly, George had the hots for the girl that was with Andrew Ridgeley.
Mm.
And just seeing that video makes me a little bit sad, in as much as I think I was born at the right time to enjoy the 80s for the toys. I wasn't old enough to enjoy 80s for being an adult, or a young adult, I should say.
Yeah.
Just seeing them all drive up to this beautiful chalet in the snow with all the 80s clothes and the big hair, I kind of wished I'd been part of that as well, but can't have it all.
You have a clip of that in your intro, don't you?
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
I thought
you're part of it.
Well, yeah, but I just mean to actually experience firsthand being a young adult in the 80s.
Good point.
Yeah. It's a question I often ask, in terms of when was the best year to be born? Because obviously, in my case, I got to enjoy Star Wars at its peak. But as a result of that, I have no exposure to toy lines such as the real Ghostbusters, or Mask was the very last toy line I got to enjoy as a kid. And I was only with that very briefly because I was, 12 years old in 1986. So,
well, I remember that there was a lot of censorship going on for the first time.
Right.
Because we had a lot of influx of, like I said, Madonna earlier, and they're pushing the envelopes of, what you can sing about.
Yeah.
And so, these advisory labels became prominent on CDs, and but it was a great time because it allowed a lot of artistic what's the word for it?
Expression.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And so for me, I think if I could do things over again, I would probably say I think I was born at the right time to be a kid in the 80s. I think being a kid was probably worth more than being a young adult. As much as I wanted to be up in that chalet with George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley and all these beautiful girls with their big hair, I think I'll take the memories of the toys over that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're at the halfway point and still waiting for Mr. French, which is fine. Do you have enough material that we could do memories of Christmas twice in this show, or
me,
or in general? Because the idea was to end the show where we just talk about some of our favorite Christmas memories, but I'd like to include Michael in that. So if we do some memories now, can we do more at the end?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So just can be from any year as a kid. What are some of your favorite memories of Christmas time?
Well, as someone who grew up in the UK until I was 11 and then moved to Australia, it was a very Christmas, the change in Christmas was very, very jarring, going from, cold winter time to 40-degree days and people going to the beach on Christmas Day and going to the swimming pool. And I remember the first probably 4 Christmases in Australia when I was, 11, 12, 13, 14. What I would pine for the most was not actually a memory of Christmas Day itself. It would be a memory of walking through Montague Street in Worthing, where I grew up, like the main shopping street, and having all the Christmas lights up above and thinking it was really late at night because it was pitch black, but it was probably only 5 o'clock. And all the Christmas lights up and your breath, would kind of frost as it came out, and just walking around, and it had such a Christmas festive feel. And I remember, I would probably be there with my mother. She would be shopping for Christmas gifts and stuff for other people. And I'd be, staring the windows of all these shops, looking at the toys. And I never thought, until looking back later, that would be a Christmas memory that I would really hold dear. And a big part of that is because of this massive change in the country where I grew up to then the country where I was now living. Australia, they didn't have big kind of they had more like malls like in America, whereas in England, you have the high street in your town, and just that cold, you're rugged up, and we all have one of those duffel coats with the buttons that kind of look like an animal's tooth, and then you had the furry brim, and which I always liked because I thought I looked like Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. But great memory for me.
Now, did you call those jackets parkas or snorkel jackets?
We always called them parkas, I think.
Yeah, but for some reason, have you heard of the term snorkel jacket before?
I have, yeah. They're the ones that were a bit more like a polyester type material. Yeah. That was zip up, not button. There was zip up, not button up, because you could. Yeah, it was a fur lined around here, and if you did the zip all the way up, it would actually go up and come forward.
Yeah,
you'd look like a character on South Park. You would look like an upside down snorkel. So,
but actually, those caused a great deal of danger in the UK because kids couldn't cross the road safely because this hood came out to here, so you couldn't look both ways before crossing, and kids were getting killed wearing these jackets. Oh boy, those were the days. But funny, Tony, thing you said about the Australian Christmas. I experienced something similar a couple of years back when we went to Thailand. We arrived on January 1st, and they still had all the Christmas decorations up in the shopping malls.
Yeah.
And I remember being outside one of the big malls and looking at this beautiful Christmas tree, all these plastic snowmen. They were playing Wham through the speakers, and I'm stood there in shorts and t-shirt, and I'm thinking, this is not right.
Yeah. And I've gotten used to it now, but for me, there is still nothing quite like an English Christmas and the build up to like coming here at the age of 11, but then moving back to the UK at the age of 24. I remember that first Christmas in England at the age of 24 when I was, going out to the pubs quite regularly in the evenings leading up to Christmas. And the place where I worked, it seemed like, everyone had a different kind of Christmas work do. And that kind of month leading up to Christmas, every Friday and Saturday night, you were going out and you were bumping into all these different people and getting swept up in the whole thing around who's going to be the Christmas number one. Like, that wasn't the thing in Australia. And I didn't remember that being a thing when I was a kid. Just an entirely different Christmas. It's not the same.
I actually had a conversation with Mrs. 88 the other day, and I said, potentially this could be our last cold Christmas.
Yeah.
And that kind of upset me in a way because I associate Christmas with snow.
Yep.
And as you said earlier, seeing your breath as you breathe in the cold air. And that's going to be quite a shock if things pan out that way. So I'm really trying my best to make the most of this. And I'm trying to get outdoors as much as I can just to sort of take it all in, because once here we are, we're just over 2 weeks away from Christmas, which I simply cannot believe. It's going by so fast.
Yeah, I only did my shopping for Grace yesterday.
Yeah. And,
you guys are kind of preaching to the choir, because here in Southern California, I'm in shorts and flip-flops.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I used to have real fond memories of my brother and I going out in the Midwest and knocking down icicles that were, 2-3 meters.
Yeah.
And we would wear shoulder pads and a football helmet with a mask, just for safety precautions.
Yeah.
And I remember sticking those long icicles in our freezer, and we would pull those out in June and July as show and tell at our school. Hey, look what we found.
Wow.
As a joke.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But our tradition at our house is a Swedish smorgasbord, because our relatives came from Sweden. And so we have pickled herring and rice pudding and lingonberries and köttbullar, which is meatballs. And we drink glögg, which is a mulled wine.
Oh, nice.
And the torch has since been passed to me. So I go out with a big lobster pot and pour the port wine into this, and we put like a cheesecloth with almond slices and raisin and cardamom seeds, and then we pour vodka in it. We light it on fire and take a colander with sugar cubes and raise it up, and the flames go in the air, and we serve that drink and sing songs.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That sounds awesome.
What's funny is, Tree can back this up. Obviously, in America, turkey is the dish for Thanksgiving. But for me, turkey is for Christmas Day.
Yeah.
And because
turkey and ham.
Yeah, because I don't necessarily, I didn't grow up with Thanksgiving, therefore it doesn't mean a whole lot to me. For me, Thanksgiving is all about putting up the Christmas decorations. But because I need to have turkey on Christmas Day, I always buy the turkey mid-November to ensure we have it for Christmas Day. And typically, I'm smart because the turkeys sell out for Thanksgiving.
Right.
And I have mine in the freezer. Once again, this year, round about mid-November, the turkeys appeared in the supermarket. So I bought mine thinking, okay, just secure the turkey so we have it for Christmas. Well, due to the price of everything going through the roof, there's still tons of turkey this year. They did not sell out. In fact, they came nowhere close to selling out. And I suspect they're going to be put on sale next week because the supermarket just has so many left over. But like I said, for me, turkey is all about the only time I have turkey is on Christmas Day with all the traditional trimming. So I've got sage and onion stuffing. And again, another thing, the American stuffing tends to be a bread-based stuffing, whereas for me, it's sausage meat-based.
Oh, interesting.
So I always do sage and onion stuffing, chestnut and onion stuffing. Chipolatas I can't get. Now, chipolata is a British style of sausage. It's a smaller sausage, I guess, but they have those. Always wrap them in bacon, mashed potatoes, roast potatoes, Brussels sprouts, carrots. One thing I don't stick to tradition with is I do not care for cranberry sauce. To me, it's too sweet. It doesn't fit the plate, in my opinion, because everything is all savory and highly seasoned, and to stick on, which is essentially a blob of jam, doesn't do it for me.
No, me either.
You should give Swedish lingonberries a try. They're more tart.
Right, yeah.
But that aroma, I know what you're talking about. It just fills the house with the turkey and the stuff, and then just makes you feel like home.
And the thing about a British Christmas with the sage and onion stuffing, again, sage is one of those herbs. And yes, I did say it with a pronounced H. I don't understand where herbs comes from.
That's something else, isn't it, Dean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Herbs are an ingredient. Herbs are something you smoke.
Yeah. But once you start just chopping fresh sage, that aroma just screams Christmas. And
sure.
that's one of my favorite things, actually. And then for dessert, I always do a sherry trifle, which is another British classic. And it was quite funny because last year I went to the local liquor store to ask if they had any sweet sherry. And they said, oh, I don't know. So they went rummaging around. And in the back, they found one bottle that was just covered in dust. So I guess Americans don't really drink sherry too much.
My nan always did.
Oh, yeah. My grandma loved sherry at Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very much an old lady's drink. But in saying that, it's absolutely delicious. It's like drinking a soda.
Yeah.
You can barely taste the alcohol. And I'm just seeing a random comment here from Tez. He says, always have too much salad cream at Christmas. I wouldn't put salad cream on Christmas dinner.
I don't ever remember breaking out the salad cream on Christmas Day.
No. Although I'm sure you will remember the mayonnaise commercials where the family had the leftover turkey. And it was telling us how
that might be what he's talking
about. A dry turkey. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about. It's not maybe Christmas Day. It's the 2, 3, 4 days afterwards when you've got so much turkey left to eat. That you do have salad cream with. Yeah.
Oh, another one I'm going to bring this one up regarding sherry. Croft Originals. Remember the butler was called Jeeves?
Sure.
Yep.
And you had the toff would say something really outlandish, and the butler would come in with the tray of sherry. Fantastic memories there. But again, he's saying here it's salad cream for the turkey sandwiches. Salad cream's too sweet in my opinion.
Yeah, for cold turkey though.
Yeah, maybe. No, I think I'll stick with the mayonnaise for that. But any other Christmas foods that you have fond memories of? I have a couple I can mention if you want to think about it.
I left out all the cookies.
Oh yeah,
we had lots of cookies that were baked.
Lots
of Swedish recipes.
Yeah,
I remember one that had an almond in the center, and you would make a wish and press the almond, and it would split into 3 parts. You got your wish.
Oh,
and we had spritz and oh my gosh, all kinds of Henry bars and I don't know all the names of them, but you can bet you I was loaded up with them.
Yeah. I actually managed to secure from Amazon, of all places, some traditional mince pies. And of course, it gets confusing because in the UK, mince means ground beef typically. Okay. And we, of course, do have meat pies, but a mince meat pie or a mince pie is it's like a fruit and nut mixture, a very sort of sticky, sweet mixture.
Yeah, almost like a sweet kind of chutney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, raisins, sultanas, chopped nuts, and a lot of, I guess, cinnamon to give it a slight kick. And in this short crust pastry, and it's, oh my God, it's the most delicious thing. And Amazon were selling them, and they're actually from the Glenfiddich Scotch whiskey company, so they also have a bit of whiskey in them.
Ooh, that's just made them instantly better.
Yeah, but I have to ration myself because if I were to open them now, they'd be gone by tomorrow. So I've said I will not open the box until December 20, so I can really get involved with the Christmas spirit with these things. Another funny story is it was only at Christmas time that we would get boxes or tins of biscuits or cookies. Throughout the year, my mum would buy biscuits in little packets, but at Christmas time, we'd have the big box to pass around while watching the TV. And a few years back, they have this one import store in New York called Myers of Keswick. and it's a very British store, and they import everything that I remember and love. But they also have a fresh bakery and butcher, so they make all the pies and sausages, etc. But a few years back, I saw this box of Family Choice biscuits. So I'm sure UK folks will remember Family Choice.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to get this box opened up, to open it and just remember some of these biscuits, cookies from being a kid. Now, this was one of the years my sister-in-law from Thailand was staying with us for Christmas. And she has one of the biggest appetites for sweet things I've ever seen in my life. However, she's also built like this, so she can eat like you would not believe and not put on a pound of weight. Anyway, while I was busy preparing the Christmas dinner, she went ahead, opened this box of Family Choice, and ate the whole thing in one sitting. I was fuming. I didn't get a single one.
Oh my gosh.
I could not believe it. But this year, the local supermarket happened to have Family Choice. So I've got another box for this year. And because the sister-in-law is still in Thailand, I will be able to enjoy some classic British biscuits at Christmas time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's just amazing how certain foods and snacks can conjure up so many great memories. And another thing that I've not had in many years is actual Christmas cake, which in the UK is a very dense fruit cake.
Okay.
And if I remember rightly, they are made over the course of a few months. And I remember my mom making Christmas cake, and at the end of each week, she would add more alcohol to it, probably brandy, I believe. And then once that was done and cured, she would then layer it with one layer of marzipan and then a layer of icing or frosting, as you call it, but it's the hard icing. And then do some decorative icing on top. And on Christmas Day, of course, you would cut the cake and we'd all get a little slice. But because it was such a rich cake, you couldn't eat a lot at any one time. So we would still have Christmas cake going into March or April. You know, it was just so rich, so dense. And again, that was raisins, sultanas, nuts, brandy. And we've got a super chat from Jody. Again, Jody, thank you so much. He says, not wanting to be a nag, but getting way too hungry here. Can we switch to toys? No. Tony, I don't know if you heard my story about the Family Choice biscuits there.
No, I was busting for the toilet.
Yeah, of course. No, we're just saying a few years back, I managed to find this box of Family Choice from the UK, and I had them here in New York. And my sister-in-law from Thailand was staying with us for Christmas, and she is built like a pencil, but she can eat. Boy, can she eat! Doesn't put on any weight whatsoever. So I'm busy slogging away preparing Christmas dinner, and in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, you know what? I cannot wait to get into these Family Choice. I turned my back for a few minutes. Sister-in-law ate the entire box in one go.
Wow.
We're talking at least, what, at a rough guess, I'm going to say, I don't know, a good 50 or 60 individual biscuits. And on that note, we have someone set to join us.
Sorry for being late. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. Good evening, sir. How are you?
How are you?
Very good, thank you.
I'm doing everything possible to make my entry not awkward, so it's not working real well. But hey,
good to see you, Michael.
I don't think it's awkward at all because that jacket is so cool.
Yeah.
Not really.
A wizard arrives exactly when he's supposed to.
Yeah. So Michael, I kind of switched up the order of the show because I know that 90% of people watching want to hear us talk about toys.
Oh.
We haven't touched that yet.
Get old after a while, man.
Yeah,
I tell you.
we've not touched on that. We've already gone over the BBC. Now, you were part of the Iconicon stream, looking at what was on BBC on various days.
Yeah.
Nothing great was shown, so you didn't really miss much there. The top 10, Christmas top 10 of 1985 was a lot better than it was last week, because last week's stream was just an absolute joke in terms of Christmas top 10s. This week we did have Wham, we had Shakin' Stevens, and we also had Aled Jones. Do you have any memories of music from the Christmas in 1985 or just the 80s in general?
Yeah. My Christmas music of 85, that was a specific gift I asked for. I asked for the Back to the Future soundtrack on cassette.
Right.
So I'll never forget pulling away from, I was in the back seat of the car. My parents we had driven to northern Tennessee to visit my mom's side of the family. And this was literally this December 24th. It was Christmas Eve, and we were headed back. I don't remember where we were, but where we were headed. But we were leaving my Aunt Patty's house, and I had my brand new Back to the Future soundtrack cassette. I was putting it into my Walkman to listen in the back seat when they drove away, and it started to snow. And I'll never forget my Aunt Brenda calling down from the open door saying goodbye to my mom. And they both said, "It looks like it's going to be a white Christmas." And there I was rocking out to Huey Lewis. Like, so yeah, that was my 85 memory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And we were just spent the last 20 minutes or so talking about food from Christmas back in the day, or just in general. Obviously, when you were living in the UK, did you have many Christmases?
Mm-hmm.
And so did you have the traditional British Christmas dinner?
Oh yeah. We had the pudding, and we had the crackers, and the poppers and all that stuff, and the paper crowns and everything. We did it up.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of felt like Lewis Tully in Back to the Future. Lewis Tully in Ghostbusters 2, when I was doing those British Christmases, when he gets zipped up in the jumpsuit the first time. He's like, I was born to wear this stuff. Like, I felt like when we were doing British Christmases, I was like, this was the Christmas I was born to celebrate. Like, this is the way it should be.
Yeah. Because I've managed to, despite being here for what I forget now, 18 years, I still maintain that everything must be done as it was back in the day. So we have crackers to pull, the hats must be worn, even the bad jokes must be told from inside the cracker. Yeah. So Tree, do you know what Christmas crackers are?
No, I don't.
It's basically a cardboard tube, very nicely decorated, and inside is a snapper, hence the name cracker. But contained within are a little toy or novelty, a paper hat, and a really terrible joke. And prior to Christmas dinner, you sit at the table and you hold one end, someone grabs the other end, you pull, and it cracks. And inside, you get this paper hat to wear, you get a little novelty or toy, and you get a really, really bad joke.
Like a dad joke, like a Windsor, like an eye-burning bad joke.
Yeah.
I was listening. I was actually. Oh, sorry. I know you got a super chat. Sorry about that.
I just want to say a big thank you to Daniel here, who says, as a kid, my dad always insisted leaving Santa Guinness instead of milk. He always insisted Santa would prefer Guinness.
That's funny, because my dad always insisted that Santa would prefer a Tennent's Extra.
Oh man, yeah. I was listening to, coincidentally today, as I was eating lunch, I was listening to Sean Locke's Purple Van Man, his stand-up routine, and he starts talking about the Christmas crackers, and he's like, I think the Christmas crackers are all made in China now, and he goes, then I looked, and sure enough, they were. He goes, and I read the joke, and he reads the joke off, and he's like, what did the ghost say to the something, and he's like, there's no point of even having a ghost in this joke. The joke works without the ghost. He's like, so you can tell it's being written by people who don't speak English. He's like, they're just like, he's like, what is that review process like in the factory? He's like, what does this joke sound like, boss? And he's like, it's not so great. Add a ghost to it. Like, put a ghost in there.
You know what? I just realized I have some smaller ones stuck in the Christmas tree. So this is a Christmas cracker.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
So one person holds that end, one person holds that end, and pull. And like I said, inside, everyone has to wear the hat. So if you ever see a British sitcom or soap opera at Christmas time, you will see the family sitting with these tissue hats on. Those are your Christmas cracker hats.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely brilliant. And
I like it. I think it levels the playing field at the holidays. I really do. And I'm not trying to be humorous, but if you laugh at what I'm about to say, fine, bonus. But I really feel like it's an opportunity with that paper hat to take the pretentious people in the family and bring them down a few notches, while taking the people who usually get ignored and bringing them up a few notches. And suddenly everybody looks the same. Yeah. And it's like, you know what? I don't care, Uncle, Trevor, that, you own 7 McDonald's franchises and you're richer than the rest of us. You're going to wear this paper hat like the rest of us.
Good point.
That's the tradition. So get used to it.
Yeah.
People are going to think I'm crazy in the comments. I don't care.
No. There was always one. And obviously, you had varying standards of Christmas crackers, and the cheapest ones had the most awful gifts inside. As you went up in scale, you got some pretty useful things, like a notepad and pen, a deck of playing cards, a fully functioning pen. But one of the cheaper ones I always remember was called the Magic Fish. Now, UK people should remember this. It was basically a piece of red, very thin film plastic that was cut out like a fish, and you would lay it on your hand, and the heat from your palm would cause the ends to curl. And that was the magic fish.
I like the simple solutions. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. So here we are, 1 hour 30. So we're going to jump into the segment that I'm sure most people came here for.
Okay.
And that will be called Pick 3 Gifts. And we're going to go through the Argos Catalog toy section for Christmas 1985. And as we go through, we can talk about what we see. But in the back of your mind, think of 3 gifts that you really would have liked then, or even would like today. And at the end of it, we'll talk about our 3 most desirable gifts.
Okay.
So we're going to go with Pick 3. Right.
You have outdone
yourself. I was
yourself
impressed as well, Michael.
Yeah, you have outdone yourself with those interstitials, sir.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? Those were an absolute blast to do, because as I've said in many live streams lately, I've completely ignored doing anything musical. So I challenged myself to get some Christmas music, and anything with a bit of sleigh bell and a chime just reeks of Christmas. So I had an absolute blast putting those together. So now I'm going to get up the Argos Catalog from 1985. And here we go. So everyone's seeing this?
Yep.
Yep.
Wonderful. Now, interestingly enough, last week when we looked at 1986, there were no home computers or game consoles. But 1985 only offered us the Atari 2600 JT. Anyone have any memories of this?
My only reaction to this is, as much as they tried to keep the 2600 relevant, it seemed like the wood paneled one just hung on. And so when I see that controller, it looks like a pared down version of the one from Cloak and Dagger, which I think was the 5800 or 5200, something like that. It was the one that had like the keypad on the controller that never worked and all that stuff. This looks like they're trying to salvage that design somehow, because that console was a dud.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're trying to bring back some of that architecture with this reskinned 2600, which looks really nice. I mean,
Yeah.
nice looking console.
But interestingly enough, they have the console, but no games.
Hmm.
Wow.
This came with one game, but there were no separate games to buy, which is
See, we had so many in television cartridges with that wood grain console.
Mhm.
yeah,
We just hung on to that.
Yeah.
Over here, we have some sort of learning games, which I never had any of these because I just felt education was for school. I wanted something to play. I wanted to play Space Invaders. If I got an electronic toy, I wanted it to be fun, not something I could learn at school.
Right.
Now
But I don't know
is that a speak and spell?
Yep.
yes, yes.
Okay, because I remember having that and taking it apart like ET.
Really?
Oh.
How much they want for that? Is that
Number
33 pounds?
14 was £33. Yeah, that's a lot of money back
It's
then.
like
Wow,
$44.
yeah, it is.
Yeah. This is interesting. This robot, I don't recognize that.
I
They're
don't
calling
either.
it George the Computer Robot.
It looks like they stripped all the parts off of Vincent, and then
Yeah.
just had the core unit.
Sure.
Yeah, but again, £20, a reasonable amount of money for mid 80s.
Mhm.
But at least there's more sort of computer games here. Game & Watch, of course, was very popular, and that was when they had this sort of double fold-out.
That's the one I had. That's the one I
Yeah.
have right there. I have that exact one still.
Nice.
I can prove it.
And of course, computer Battleship. I always fancied that, but I never did receive it. My dad always insisted us just playing with, a piece of paper and a pencil.
Well, we had the analog version, but
Yeah. And up here we
I
have.
had one of those, Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
God knows where it's gone now, but yeah.
Let me bring up. Michael is where here.
Yep.
Oh,
Mario
wow.
Brothers. That's the one.
oh yeah,
And
Fantastic.
my brother that year got the smaller one, which was the Mario Cement Factory.
oh yeah, sure.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And these are from the Christmas of probably 85. So
Wow,
Right.
that's amazing.
Yeah. This is interesting. I don't know how, but I missed out on this. This is a BMX game from Grandstand, and that would have been right up my street. So I don't know why that wasn't on my radar back then.
That yellow one?
Yeah,
you were too
BMX.
busy actually BMXing.
true. Then again, £22 for a small handheld is a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
That Star Force was that Grandstand?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw somebody recently retro that or mod it with a proper joystick and 4 buttons.
Oh, wow.
They loaded, like modern games, Metal Slug,
Right.
Samurai Showdown, Alien.
Some of these games always were in these catalogs, like Perfection, Space Attack, Mr. Pop. Again, so last week, one of my top 3 was, in fact, the test match game, which, as I said then, and I'll say it again today, this was one of the few games that actually exceeded expectations. It worked above and beyond what it said it would do, and this was a game that definitely one of the best mechanical games of the 80s.
Was that the one they showcased at the end of your school days?
Yes. Yep. Really a really well done game. Again, Hungry Hippos was always something that appeared in the 80s. The trouble is this one's been scanned, 4 pages at a time, so it's hard to sort of keep it in a good size to look at. But this one, I Want to Bite Your Finger, was a game I always fancied. But I'm assuming, much like the Jaws game, it wouldn't be much of a bite.
No, they actually the teeth had I think like felt pens on them. So you had to put your finger in and then take it out, and if you had no pen marks, you were okay. You stayed in the game. If you got bitten, you were out. But that Lost Valley of the Dinosaurs, I remember having that board game and loving it.
Yeah,
it was a 3D board game, and it actually had blow molded volcano on one side. Came with these dinosaurs and these little adventure people.
Cool.
Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Cluedo was a classic, but I had this exact version of Cluedo, but I think we only played it once as a family. Over here, we have Crossfire was a game I played a few times, enjoyed that. Game of Life, Game of Knowledge, Go for Broke, very popular then. And I think I saw Game of Life for sale in my local Rite Aid the other day, so they're still making that. Operation was another one that.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that gave me a heart attack. we used to play it a little differently. We would write the names of attractive girls and not so attractive next to the things. When the buzzer went off, oh my gosh.
I'm going to jump in here and say a big thank you to Sal for the super chat. He says, yes, I'm late. I'll have to catch you on replay as it's time for work. And Tree, it's nice to match a face to the name. Yeah, I know I'm one to talk.
Hey,
thank you, Sal. Very much appreciated.
Merry Christmas, Sal.
Yes. And so over here, Down the Hatch.
Oh,
Don't
yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing it. I never owned it, but Down the Hatch, Guess Who, Connect 4, these were all, they were heavily advertised. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So now we're getting into the Lego. Duplo, very much the sort of infants Lego basic sets, but over here is the stuff that I would have been interested in. So we had the castles, the train sets, and of course the classic space Lego.
Yeah.
Say, I've got something you might be interested in. This is a catalog from the 80s. They actually have a page here with the space, because I know.
Let me see.
I know you're so excited about the space set.
I remember that image well.
Oh yeah. That's
very nice.
Classic. So, again, this Technic set has appeared probably almost every year in the 80s of the car chassis with the functioning gearbox and steering rack. And I'm curious to see how much that was. So that's 23. That was £29. And that is a lot of money.
How much was that go-kart Technic? Because I think that was the first Technic I ever owned.
You mean this one down here?
Yeah, the smaller version.
24 was coming in at £9.95.
Oh, okay. So that's about $13. Yeah, that's how I understood how the steering unit worked.
Right. And of course, the chemistry set that I was never allowed, and probably justifiably so. I did have the electronics set and always wanted Mr. Frosty, but by all accounts, it was a bit of a flop. Never actually worked.
Yeah, we had one, and it was a disappointment.
Yeah, I can imagine. And a bit of Crayola for you.
Oh yeah, the Crayola art set.
Yeah. And now we're getting into sort of more interesting stuff.
Okay.
So, what's this? This is
Power. Oh my God.
Did that say Power Ruse?
Power rods.
Rods. Ah, there we go. Yeah,
Power Ruse is sold in Australia.
Yeah. So it's like a pump action type car. Fill it with air.
Like it, yeah.
Yeah. Of course, the Corgi diecast. So we've got Yorkie Bar, Weetabix, Rally Bikes. I can't read that one.
Oh, you know that street is that street racing?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the first glow in the dark set I owned.
Wow.
That basically eliminated the need for a nightlight.
Yeah. I was obsessed with anything that glowed in the dark as a kid. I thought it was the most amazing thing when you would turn the lights out and you would still see it glowing away. Fantastic. Hornby model railways. Interestingly enough, I never realized that Hot Wheels were sold in the UK in the 80s. I always just assumed that Matchbox and Corgi were the only companies doing diecast, but evidently not. Now, over here, we got Knight Rider and the Dukes of Hazzard. And interestingly enough, as I look over to my right, I can see a speed jumper set that I'm going to do a video on, which I actually did the video a couple of years back, but I have a new take on it. But this was a fantastic set.
See, now the one to the left, the 2000 Super Stunt set, that was previously the Dukes of Hazzard Barnbuster set. So I have the Barnbuster version with the box that I grew up with of this set as a Dukes of Hazzard thing. This is the first time I've ever seen it as a Knight Rider set, and now I'm like, I have to have it again.
Well, so, here's the funny thing.
Dean. Thanks a lot.
No, I'm also looking over to my right, and I can see what was called the Dukes of Hazzard Stunt Buster set, which is only the barn element. But this ramp that is shown over here is actually attached to the barn, and this ramp is not part of the set. And mine were made by Knickerbocker.
Yep, that's what mine were. Yep, that's what mine are.
These are Hasbro, which is rather interesting. Here
they're probably overpriced and underproduced.
Yeah. Some sort of electronic Jeep truck.
Oh, that's the big. Oh, you talking about the Bigfoot truck on 21?
Yeah.
Oh, well, stand by.
Okay. And let me see, has he come back yet? Oh boy, yeah, very nice.
Now we're talking.
Wow.
And inside this trailer, you have all of your little doodads, including the key that activates the vehicle. So you put the key in the top of the vehicle and then turn it on. And
fantastic!
This was probably my brother's, and it was probably one of his 1985 Christmas gifts. This very one right here.
Oh, wonderful!
Awesome.
Yeah. So now we're into the Masters of the Universe.
I've never heard of this.
No. I like the way that Argos would offer the figures in packs of 2. So for the Battle Armor He-Man and Skeletor, you were getting both figures for £6.95, which, you know, in today's terms is pretty damn good value for money. Although combining Orca with Cobra Khan is a bit of an odd partnership. But
Orco's gone rogue. He's not taking Randor's crap anymore.
Yeah. But
I should have written for Masters of the Universe. That'd have been great.
Yeah. I love the way they would pose these for the promotional shots. Great images there. And of course, over here, we got Castle Grayskull. Now, I'm curious, that's number 9. So Castle Grayskull was £23.
Whoa.
Again, quite a lot of money back then. And in comparison, let's see, Stridor is what, number 8? £6.45.
Yeah. I mean, he's got no moving parts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's pretty simple to manufacture.
Yeah. But wonderful stuff there. Now, over the page, we got Galoob's A-Team, which is a a line. I actually enjoyed I guess, what are these, like 5.5-inch scaled figures?
Now, Tony, I know that you're not aware of what A-Team is. So A-Team was a TV show in the 80s that was, can't even get through it with a straight face.
Yeah. These were fantastic. I never had the 3 3/4-inch figures, but did these contain a rubber O-ring, or were they different?
Yep, rubber O-ring. Rubber O-ring. So of all of the 3 3/4-inch stuff on that page,
yes,
I had all of that.
Wow.
I had all 4 of the figures. I don't think I had the really large size Mr. T, although I've got one now.
Right.
Never remember seeing that, van kind of playhouse type thing. But I'm pretty sure I had that Mr. T A-Team backpack or satchel.
Wow.
Those themed play tents, they don't survive to this day. Like my dad bought me one for Legend of the Lone Ranger. Like he just bought it. I was real young. I didn't ask for it. He just bought it because, he knew what Lone Ranger was and he thought it'd be fun. I've never to this day seen that play tent on eBay ever. And I've rarely seen any of the others. Very, very rarely. They're harder to find than big wheels.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 1985, of course, was the end of Star Wars. And in the case of Argos here, they weren't even pushing the figures. They only had vehicles and play sets. And quite on topic, we have the Rancor here. So in 1985, the Rancor was £9.95.
That's $13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
not 350.
Well, I should probably say something about this Star Wars thing because Michael wasn't here earlier. It's because of your 3 channels that my sons and I got reintroduced to all this Star Wars stuff that I may or may have missed out on. So primarily in the vehicles. Yeah. And so this page actually is because of your channels. We've reacquired a lot of these vehicles and figures and, scanned a Palatoy Death Star and made a carbon freezing chamber. We repaired a Y-Wing. So it's to your 3 credit that this page actually means a lot to our family.
Oh, fantastic.
Well, you're very welcome. I'm glad you've chosen memories over retirement. I think that's very brave, and I'll be right there with you. So,
yeah. And
I'm kidding, Tree. I'm kidding. No, but seriously, that's very humbling. Thank you.
And it's funny because as we look at one recent crowd-funded attempt at a toy in the form of the Rancor, we have another one with the Robo Skull, the original Robo Skull, which is an absolute classic. And at number 25 was costing £16.95.
I'd like to point out it's cheaper than the Ewok Village and a better value.
Oh, yeah. Ewok Village was 24, which was costing, £32.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not
$42.
Yeah, I'm just. Yeah.
Sorry, I have to do the conversion.
Yeah.
World Made of Cardboard, thank you so much. I miss the 80s. Every toy store and catalog filled with toys that would take you to every corner of the universe. Christmas was the biggest day ever. Yes, it was. And thank you so much for the super chat. That is very kind of you. Over here, robotics.
Just quickly, Dean, I've just jumped onto eBay to have a look at Robo Skulls. There are none available for sale at the moment.
Oh.
But there's one that ended on the 3rd of October, had 14 bids. It looks complete with all the parts, but I don't think all the stickers are there. And it went for $1,250.
Wow.
What?
Yeah. There's another one here that's got a few parts missing. So all the all the thruster on one of the 4 legs is all completely missing, and that sold for $500 incomplete.
Wow. Crazy.
Yeah.
I have no memory at all of the robotics. Anyone remember these?
I remember them. I don't think I had them. I think like another kid in the street had them.
Right.
They were very complicated and from memory kind of easy to break. So,
Right. And we got some Secret Wars.
now this stuff I had quite a lot of. I never had the what did you refer to that tower as, Michael?
The Tower of Doom.
Yeah. What did you call it in your video?
Oh, you're talking about the Ghostbusters one. I think I call it the Tower of Boredom. But this one, I think I called it something. I can't remember what I called it though.
Yeah.
I've thrown
I
so
remember
many
having-
aspersions towards vintage toys. It's hard to.
I had a lot of these figures, a lot of the figures, and I'm pretty sure maybe the Captain America vehicle I think I had. But whether I was getting these for Christmas or perhaps my birthday, I'm pretty sure this Christmas was when I was getting all of that A-Team stuff. Because this was kind of the year when I had said, no, I didn't want Masters of the Universe anymore. So,
Right. So we have the Convertors, which again, not a toy line I had any dealings with. But over here, I was going to say we have the GoBots, but they were still being referred to as Robo Machine, which very interesting. But as we all know, they played second fiddle to the Transformers. And I'm seeing a few here that I did get for Christmas in 1985. I also see ones that I didn't get but desperately wanted. But interestingly, they have only one of the 2 jump starters for sale. When I remember getting both of these for 85.
Yeah, it's probably the one they had left over from the previous assortment. It's probably an overstocked.
Yeah. Zoids.
yeah, I remember Zoids.
Yeah. And of course, more Transformers. And it was a nice mixture of waves. So obviously, a few from Wave 1, Wave 2, Dinobots, and of course, the wonderful Jetfire. But 85 was my big Transformers year. Now we're into the world of girls' toys. And I'm assuming that 99.5% of the viewers won't really care too much about these pages, but we'll quickly go through them. Yeah. Cabbage Patch Kids, of course. Barbie. I always remember the girl's doll being called, or the big one being Cindy in the UK, but I guess at some point Barbie took over.
I'm kind of curious why they didn't include Teddy Ruxpin, because here in North America that was the toy of the year.
Yeah, we had Teddy Ruxpin in the UK. Obviously, the UK was always behind.
Yeah, we probably had it in 86.
Yeah. And so that's it. So I hope you were sort of making mental notes there as we go around the table. And if you could only have had 3 items from that catalog. So we'll start with the third. So Tree, which item would you have chosen as a gift from that catalog?
Okay, that would be the Y-Wing, the Kenner Y-Wing.
Oh, nice. Good choice. And Tony?
Definitely the A-Team attack tank. I did get that year, and it was such a cool toy that ended up years later becoming a Cobra tank. So
Right.
G.I. Joe Action Force.
Yeah. Michael?
Yes.
Which was your pick for your third most desirable toy that we just looked at?
I apologize for that brief distraction. I was actually looking up the My Little Pony stable. Anyway, and I admit to that. Because there's nothing more valuable than honesty. All right, cool. So my third most desirable toy of 1985. I'm gonna throw out an uncertainty because I can't remember if I got my Tyco RC Turbo Hopper in 84 Christmas or 85 Christmas. Right. But that definitely was one of my top toys that I would have wanted in around that time. So that definitely rates.
Yeah. So my third pick would have been the AT-AT. I wanted it desperately for Christmas in 83. And for whatever reason, my mum and dad said, it looks like a bloody dog. And instead, I got 4 or 5 smaller vehicles, but I always wanted that AT-AT. So, Tree, what is your second pick?
Oh, for sure, the Rancor.
Wow. Yeah. Tony?
I'm going to probably surprise people here. Jetfire.
Okay, yes.
And the reason I surprise people is most people know I'm not a Transformers fan.
Yeah.
But I think that's because I think that is the best Transformer there has ever been, mainly because it's not really a Transformer.
Right.
Wait a minute. Did I answer that question wrong? Was I supposed to pick from the catalog?
Yes.
No. Well.
All right. Well, I'll do 3 and 2.
Okay, yeah.
3 and 2 on my answer.
Go ahead.
Okay. So my number 3 from that catalog would definitely be the Knight Rider stunt barn thing, because I've never seen that variation before, and I grew up with the Barn Busters one, and I loved it. So a Knight Rider choice. So I definitely want that. Number 2, if I'm pretending that I'm my kid's self in 85, and that means I've already got Optimus Prime and Soundwave from 84. All right, Christmas 84 is when I got Jetfire in 84. So it was getting harder and harder to find the G1s at that point, the original art crew. So my number 2 would definitely have been Sunstreaker or Prowl from the catalog, because I didn't find those very easily in Tennessee where I was after a certain point.
Interesting.
So that's where I would pick.
So my number 2 would have been Optimus Prime, and it was Christmas 85. That was the one gift I wanted for Christmas desperately. However, every kid in the UK wanted Optimus Prime, and he was completely sold out, could not be had anywhere. And as I shared before, my grandma was supposed to get me Optimus Prime. He was sold out. So a few weeks before Christmas, she sort of said to me in casual conversation, "Oh, do you like Megatron? He goes from robot to a gun." And I said, "No, I don't like Megatron." She then ran to the kitchen, and I overheard the conversation with my mom. "He doesn't like Megatron. What should I do?" And I felt so guilty because I was 11 years old. I was old enough to know that I'd probably hurt her feelings. Long story short, come Christmas morning, from Grandma, I received Jetfire.
It would have been really funny, Dean, if you'd have done the math and then walked back into the kitchen and just deadpan gone, I've rethought it. I made a mistake. I really like handguns. I really like handguns.
Yeah,
I wouldn't mind.
I know. So Tree, what was your number 1 pick?
For sure, the Snow Speeder.
Ah, nice. And Tony?
Well, the man who's sitting here before you today looks at that catalogue and has to say the Robo-Skull. I didn't have a Robo-Skull when I was a kid. For some reason, it never came onto my radar. I was into Action Force from for 82 and 83, and then I'd moved on to other things. So the Robo-Skull first came out in 84. But when I was a kid, I was the only kid in Britain who didn't want Optimus Prime.
Wow.
I wanted the 18 Tactical Van, and that's what I got. And it's still an awesome toy today.
I was foolish, Tony. I was in the thrall of Transformers and Voltron for 84 through mid 86 until that movie came out. The animated.
I did get Megatron probably in 85, but I don't remember it being something that I had asked for.
Right.
I remember getting a lot of A-Team stuff that year because I ended up with almost all of it from. I think the only thing I didn't have was Face's Corvette.
Yeah.
I had Murdoch's jet bomber. I had the tactical tank. I had the van. I had the combat training headquarters, all the figures, all the bad guys. Then I had, in the 6-inch scale, I had all 4 of the heroes, some of the bad guys. I had a lot of A-Team stuff. Yeah.
Right. So, Michael, your number one pick.
My number one pick for 1985 out of this catalog is going to be like, if I had known that there was still a catalog offering this no speeder, that would have been my choice because that was the unicorn that got away.
Good choice.
But if that hadn't been the case, and I'd had clairvoyance, which kids don't, if I'd had clairvoyance, I would have picked the Bioman Robo machine because that thing is worth a fortune now.
Right.
So yes, it's like buying Apple stock in like 82. But I probably wouldn't have actually known what it was about, but I would have sat on it like a pot of gold.
Yeah. So my number one pick is coming from an adult state of mind, and that is Jetfire, because the Jetfire I had, I kept it in immaculate condition, and of course sold it as soon as eBay became a thing back in the early 2000s. Trying to find one in comparable condition today is proving difficult because the majority of them are they've turned yellow. And it's really ugly when it's yellow.
Yep.
So that would be my pick. Tony, do you have to get going now? I mean,
yeah, I do. I've got work in an hour, but by all means, don't stop the show because of me.
No, but yeah.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, you're welcome.
Dean, may I say something to Tony?
Yes.
Tony, the boys and I wanted to give you something for Christmas. I don't know with the shipping lanes whether or not it would get there on time, but I wanted you to know this is what we had picked out for you.
Oh, Tree.
Let me just...
So for those who
that's something
don't know
like
what I did a live stream 2 weeks ago about Marvel Legends, and I have got an obsession about that 80th anniversary series. A big regret of mine not picking those up, and especially knowing now that Bobby Valor designed that, and it's often voted as one of the best Marvel Legends figures ever made. So very much appreciated, Tree. At the moment, I don't think shipping lanes are open. I'm hoping they reopen after Christmas. So
Merry Christmas, Tony.
Thank you very much. Same to you.
Awesome.
And to you, Michael, and to you, Dean, and Merry Christmas to the chat.
I just want to say before you go, Tony, I think that is so poetic what Tree just did. He gave you a Thor figure that you can't pick up.
I'm not worthy. Awesome.
So again, Tony, thank you for joining us. This was a wonderful chat we've had. So we'll do it again soon.
Very honored.
Absolutely. Have a great rest of the show, guys. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
So Michael, we already sort of did some of our memories to sort of pad out the time, but we're going to do it again. So this next segment, if I can just find my little intro, will be self-explanatory. So here we go. So we're just going to share a favorite memory of Christmas gone by. Could be from any year you so wish. Tree, do you want to share something? I know that you told me in advance there was something you would like to share with everyone.
So in I'm thinking of back to 1981. My future stepdad proposed to my mom, and he had brought over a frying pan as a joke gift and put it under the tree. And I remember he letting my brother and I in on this thing he was going to do. He put an engagement ring in a glass of champagne. And of course, when my mom picked it up to drink, my brother and I were just, like Satipo and Raiders going. And then she started to drink it and we said, no. So that Christmas memory really stuck out, that I had gained a new dad.
Wow. And so Michael, are there any memories that really stick out to you from Christmas back in the 80s?
Oh yeah, I mean, I can cite you one from 85. It's not going to be as profound as getting a new dad, I'll tell you that. No. I will try to follow Tree's memory for sure. That was the year that I finally got a full-on. I didn't expect it from my parents the way they did it, but they got me the entire Panache Place Voltron with all of the pilots.
Wow.
That were sold separately. So the Voltron came in a big box. You could get the line separately, but they got them all for me at once in this big box. And it's one of the few Christmases where I actually have imagery of me on Christmas morning opening that box, and you see me pulling the lions, out of their cardboard bed, and then having every single pilot. And the weird thing about that is, or fortuitous, I guess, is that by that time I had already had a number of, Star Wars figures come into my life and G.I. Joes and things like that. And I was just turning, or I just turned 7 that July. So I was 7 years old, and I was still in that middle space where I was taking care of my toys, more than you did when you were 4, but I was still losing things, and things would still accidentally get broken. And I wasn't a destructive child, but it just happens, right? For whatever reason, I immediately knew how special that toy was to me and I knew those helmets for those pilots were going to be, public enemy number 1 to get lost. I was like, sure. Oh no. So I had this OCD adherence to putting every pilot back in their respective lion before I stopped playing with it. And to this day, I have retained for that toy every original part. And because the pilots were inside the lions most of the time, magically enough, that's like the perfect place to keep them because they never turned yellow. They just always stayed white, like their uniforms. So that's a big 85 Christmas memory of mine.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. So I have one to share, and it comes from either 80 or 81. Mm-hmm. Now, at this point in time, I had seen the Star Wars movie, and one of my favorite scenes was where Luke and Han sit at the laser cannons on the Falcon to take out the TIE fighters. Now, in my house as a kid, we had this dining room and this big wooden dining table with these really elaborate feet. And the way the feet had been sculpted, they were done in such a way that the angle they were carved at was the perfect angle for a 7-year-old boy to sit under the table and sit back into this carved foot. It was the perfect angle to pretend to be at those laser cannons. So Christmas dinner had been served. Everyone was full. My mum and dad, grandma and granddad were in the living room, probably drinking sherry and whatnot. So I was in the dining room because typically I wasn't allowed in there because that's where all the crystal and china was kept. But because it was Christmas, the door was open. So I'm under the table, sitting with my back into this carved foot, pretending to be at the Millennium Falcon's laser cannons. But that morning, I'd received something which made it much more realistic, and that was the Star Wars laser pistol.
Whoa.
So there I am, 7 years old, in this perfect position and doing all of this. So I was taking out TIE fighters, and it's a memory that stuck with me. And the funny thing was, when I was back at the house 2 years ago to clear everything out, we still had the same table. Unfortunately, it did not accommodate a 45-year-old man trying to recreate the memory. Almost put my back out doing it, but the memory of doing it as a kid has stuck with me, and it was just such a fantastic thing to be able to do it with proper Star Wars sounds. Although this has to be one of the most annoying sounds ever.
Yeah, but when you don't know any different from a toy technology standpoint, I mean,
back then it was revolutionary. But yes, although I'm pretty sure my dad probably took the batteries out on Boxing Day, because as an older man myself, I can understand why that would be annoying to hear it every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's us, more or less, at the end. So is there anything else you guys want to share with the audience?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
Michael missed part of our family is the Swedish traditions, and we usually have a drinking song to go along with the glug that we make each year. And I think Will Ferrell sung it on some late night talk show hosts. And do you guys have something to drink?
I don't.
Okay.
But I'll fake.
You can fake it. You can fake it. If Dean will give me permission, I'll give you the short version of the song.
Please go ahead. Absolutely.
Heilan går sjön haffer alla lallalej och heilan går sjön haffer alla lej och den som inte heilan tar heller inte halvan får. Heilan går sjön haffer alla lej. Hey! Cheers.
Chongo. Fantastic.
So that's a tradition we have at our family.
Nice.
Melinda is already telling me, Tree. She says I need to learn this song.
That is wonderful. So that's a great way to end things. So first of all, thank you to these amazing guests. This has been an absolute dream to host, and we had some great stories, some great memories. Thank you for those generous super chats. I still can't get my head around the fact that people do that, but I really do appreciate it, and I thank you so much. Thank you to any moderators that were doing their business. Hopefully there was nothing too untoward going on. Thank you to everyone else for tuning into this, and don't forget, there'll be more of the same next week. So in closing, I want to thank everyone and thank the guests, and we'll see you next time looking at the 80s. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.